All right, y'all. So today's topic, I know one of the most common conversations is around set and setting, but I don't actually know that many people understand the nuance of set and setting. So what I'm going to really dive into today is the different type of sets and setting and the different types of containers and the 5 common mistakes that people make in their containers of why their transformations don't last. So today we are talking set and setting. For those of you, if you're in this group, you probably already know, my name is Kole Whitty, co-founder of the Condor Approach, and I'm really excited for this deeper dive into set and setting because, again, there's a lot more nuance that a lot of people really don't understand. And it's something that we did at the last live event that we start to dive into a lot deeper. So know that I'm doing a bit more of a top-down bird's eye view of set and setting for all the things that I truly believe you must consider, not just in psychedelic spaces, but for holding space for transformational experiences. And again, I'm going to break down like the 5 common mistakes people make. So today I'm going to go in what is set and setting? What do all our, this is your, what all our successful containers had in common, and the common mistakes people make that impacts the lasting results of their, whether it's plant medicine journeys or whether it's transformational experiences. This is some of the common things people don't consider that make a massive impact on the event. So if you haven't been to a live event before, what I think we are really great at and what we hear the most in our testimonials is our set and setting. It's who we get in the room. It's where we hold the events. It's how we cultivate them. And this is something that if you will put more intention and attention into your sets and settings, it'll do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. You don't have to be the one with the best content. It is who is able to craft the sets and settings. So the container itself, a lot of people hear the term container in the psychedelic space without really understanding what it means when we say container. So the container is the temporary construct in which the experience is held, simplistically. The container is the temporary construct in which the transformational space is held. When I do an intake process with someone, for example, the first call is what we call beginning to weave the container like a basket. Each person and each energy is contributing to the fibers of the container that all of us will rest within. That's why in transformational and psychedelic spaces, it's important for you to have done the work because that is a part of what creates the container, what people will sit and be held in. And when you've done the work yourself, you understand more readily and thoroughly how to create a container for the people that you want to support. And I'm going to pop off here for a second. I remember the first time that I went to a ceremony that I didn't feel safe and the container was not correct for me. When I got there, I could already feel with the facilitator that there was a little bit of like a parental dynamic where it wasn't that she reminded me of parents, but she reminded me of teachers and people from the past who I had seen as authority figures who I felt my rebellion come on. Like she'd tell me to do something and I'd feel this kind of like, no energy. And that set and setting for me, it's not that I couldn't heal in that environment, but that environment was not a very supportive container for me. So though we can learn in every set and setting that we come to and go through, that doesn't mean we have to learn in those types of containers. And at one point, I don't know if y'all have ever had the giggles when you're in a, whether it's in a retreat or a class or whatever, but I just started giggling and she came and stood over me and in a very passive aggressive tone said, anyone that can't be reverent in this space, I'm going to ask you to leave. And for me, if I'm bothersome, you can just lean over and tell me. And that forced me to burst out laughing even more. Now we can say, oh, Kole, there's an opportunity for you to learn about how you impact other people or whatever. But do I have to learn in a set and setting that is triggering me to grow versus someone that is in a more supportive space so that if I become triggered, they're there as an ally to support me through it and talk to me from a more authentic and kind place. And that space really didn't feel that way for me. So you get to choose the sets and setting and the containers that those create that is good for you, that's supportive of what you want right now. And I really implore you in this next 20 minutes to pay attention to that, of what kind of set, setting, and container do you want to create for people? What kind of teacher would you like to be? And what kind of sets and settings and containers are how you want to learn, how you want to grow? So the container includes the people, the sets, and the setting. It's how the experience is prepared and carried out. The set and setting is critical in shaping the quality and the outcome of transformational journeys of all kinds, not just psychedelic spaces. At the Condor Approach, we don't have any substances. We aren't doing a journey, but people say it's like a 3 or 5 day ayahuasca retreat because of the transformational process, because of how we set the container, open it every day, close it every day, the conversation that it invokes, because no matter what space we create, we're operating under the same templates. So by carefully curating both the internal, like mindset, and external environment, like settings, you create an ideal atmosphere for growth and exploration. So the set, there's various sets. The set is within the self, including your mindset, body set, emotion set, and construct sets, which represent the different aspects within you. The mindset is the ideas. So that's when we're talking about beliefs, intentions, mental readiness, influencing your approach to the journey. So it's the thoughts, the ideas. The body set is the space of your physical self. So your physical safety, your health status, your boundaries, your well-being throughout the process would have to do with your body set. Emotion set is like your emotional landscape. So this can include pleasant and unpleasant emotions and the concept of ease. Now, we talk about health being on a continuum from ease to dis-ease, and what you do or don't do moves the dial towards ease or towards dis-ease. And if you stay going towards dis-ease or unease for prolonged periods of time is when it becomes chronic disease. So that's more when we're talking about emotional set and the concept of ease. Construct set is the belief structures, cultural influences, family dynamics, those types of things that are shaping your perception and your experience. So where those projections lie. If you walk into a room and see someone with a beard, the assumption that it is male comes from construct sets. Social sets is interactions with family, friends, community. It's what's impacting your support system and your social dynamics. So understanding if someone was an orphan raised in foster care, if they were adopted at a young age, if they're first generation Haitian, if they're all of those social sets of their family and religion and background, and I guess that's more cultural, but the cultural can fit in the social sets. And then there's financial set, relationship with money, career, financial stability, influencing decision making, and their stress levels. So why would those things matter when it comes to mindsets, the sets aspect of set and setting? I want you to consider if you've gone on a transformational retreat or you know someone that has, and they spend their last money to go to somewhere like Costa Rica or Peru, say for an ayahuasca ceremony, and let's say that in that experience, they didn't get what they needed. They didn't have their big breakthrough. They didn't get rid of their trauma, and now they have no money left. Their financial set going into it is going to create a lot of pressure on the transformational experience because they need an outcome in order to survive. It's like, I need a breakthrough or a transformation or else. The problem with that is when someone takes that financial set and they go into an experience, sometimes the lesson isn't the transformational experience itself, it's the lack of it. It's where they do that in their life, put so much into one experience to change their life when they're not taking the daily actions or the necessary steps for the growth. And so understanding someone's financial set can help me as a facilitator or a transformational host to know have conversations ahead of time of what their expectations might be, and how to help mitigate parts of that and have a deeper discussion around their expectation of the experience. So that takes me to setting types. Set and setting, or what we say sets and setting. The setting is the physical setting, the social setting, the emotional setting, and the cultural setting. The physical setting is where the experience occurs. So whether it's in a forest, a beach, the mountains, or inside somewhere, a therapist office, a retreat center, or in someone's home is the physical setting. So some things to consider in the physical setting is the ambiance, the lighting, the temperature, the comfort level of the environment, which can influence relaxation, safety, and openness to the experience. If you have an aversion to bugs, especially very big ones, going to a place like the jungle may be too much too fast for your physical setting considerations. To go into a ayahuasca experience that can be a very blowout big experience, plus big bugs, plus other fears in the physical setting, that could impact you not feeling relaxed or hypervigilant or afraid. And those fear complexes can enter the experience, the journey. It could make it dark, or it could make it where nothing happens because your body is cutting out the psychoactive effect because it doesn't feel safe. We talk about at the live trainings about what we call the logic ceiling and the different layers of logic. Simplistically, it's when you're expansive and you feel safe, that's when source, God, spirit can communicate through all the layers. When you don't feel safe, it can contract down to a tiny, tight ball, marble structure that's very strong that doesn't let anything in, including ayahuasca. It's something to consider when looking for your physical sets and settings. So the physical setting considerations are the ambiance, lighting, temperature, comfort level of the environment, and that can influence, isn't that what I just said? Fantastic. So we doubled it because it is that important. Now, physical safety considerations, some precautions taken to ensure physical safety, like medical assistance on hand if needed, adequate supervision, and a supportive, secure space. I'm going to talk more about the common mistakes, but this is something that I do have a problem with. It's not wrong. I have a problem with it. Newer retreat leaders and facilitators, especially that don't have any medical training. I have been at ceremonies where someone got hurt and they had to be taken to a hospital. They fell, they passed out, they split their chin open, whatever. And gratefully, in that space, when we were there as participants and someone got hurt, the facilitators were not under the influence of the substance. So they were able to take this person to a hospital to get their chin sewn up. When I go to many of the ayahuasca ceremonies, particularly in the States, and there is no one out of the medicine, I have a problem with that. I will not sit personally in an environment where there isn't someone that I feel like could handle it. Now, if I'm going to the jungle, I'm taking on additional risks and I understand that. But if I'm in the United States, even though it's not legal in most contexts, but to assume or to make up a story in a fantasy world where it is legal in every context, to not have someone on site to me is very reckless at a time when people are on so many medications, so many complex trauma situations that when they get kicked into a trauma sequence, say that they're a military veteran or whatever, they're going to go to the oldest operating system. And quite often, if that's military training, that could be then they're going to run, they're going to fight, or they're going to flee, or something like that. And to not have someone on site who is completely sober, who is not in the medicine, to me, is reckless. That's my opinion. Do what you want. I'm just sharing from my experience what I will or will not participate in. I will not participate in a container where everyone is under the medicine. But that's me. I have unfortunately in my life had too many traumatic circumstances where people that were in control didn't have everything together. I have to operate differently. So we already talked about physical setting. Now let's talk about the social setting. So this is the presence of trusted people like friends, family, therapists, trained facilitators who provide emotional guidance and reassurance during the experience. There is space holding, where you're just observing. And we've done past classes on this. We teach it in depth at the Condor Approach, and it is fundamental with every coach that I work with that they understand not only safety and space holding, but set and setting. Because when you will put time and attention into certain aspects of your containers with people, it'll do most of the work for you. The set and setting and safety will do most of the work for you. It does bring a lot of reassurance, and people tend to go deeper the safer they feel without you having to do anything. Which leads me to group dynamics. Interactions with other people in the journey. That means when they're sharing their intentions. What are the communication styles? What is the group cohesion that can impact the feelings of connection, empathy, and understanding? In the masterclass I'm doing next Monday, which if you haven't registered already, I want you to put retreat in the comments so that I can get it to you. I'm doing a training specifically on creating one-day retreats, and I'm going to talk a lot about group dynamics and getting the right people in the room together. This is another massive mistake people make. They believe by being inclusive means everyone is invited. That is dangerous at worst and inconsiderate at best, because you have to get the right people that feel safe together in the room. Otherwise, what you're doing is creating harm unintentionally, which for me, we must do better than that. And when I say better, once we know different and do different, we're going to get far more effective results. So cultural context is another aspect of setting. So understanding the cultural norms where you are and from the people that are with you in it, their values, the beliefs and the healing practices from their cultural context can influence the attitudes, expectations, and interpretations of the experience. And I'm going to talk about this more when I get to the 5 key mistakes that people make here in just a couple minutes. So the other setting aspect is emotional. The psychological and emotional support provided by the setting includes the presence of non-judgmental support, a compassionate atmosphere, and that can encourage emotional expression and processing. When people feel safe and not judged, they're more open to share. And the safer they feel, the deeper they can go into processing their own emotional set. Intention setting. Deliberate setting of intentions or goals for the experience to guide your focus, mindset, and emotional journey. What is the intention setting? Set and setting. What's the intentional setting? Emotional regulation. Strategies and techniques for managing intense emotions like anxiety or challenging thoughts that can come up. Do you have help people with deep breathing, grounding exercises, verbal reassurance? This is a part of the setting. When someone starts to have a challenging experience, because at some point it's going to happen, are you equipped to know how to work with them in the setting for emotional regulation? Which takes me to cultural setting. So the cultural attitudes, traditions, and rituals that are surrounding the work that you're doing and the healing practices being used. So this can vary across societies and historical contexts. What I mean is, I'm from Utah. I grew up in a Mormon culture. The state of Utah, especially me growing up, was like 70% Mormon. It's Mormon run in the government. The majority of my school was Mormon. Everyone in my neighborhood, with the exception of 2 families, was Mormon. So there was cultural attitudes and traditions that come along with where I grew up. So if I go to some ayahuasca ceremonies, say like a Santo Daime style Christian based, in the Mormon religion, the other Christian religions where you see a cross or Christ on a cross, not that Santo Daime does that, but just in Christian based psychedelic experiences, I can actually have an aversion in my physical body because of the Christian representation. If I was someone that had harm from my cultural background, say of Mormon, of Judaism, of other very condensed religious areas, it could actually immediately make me not feel safe, because it could feel like I'm going from one very constricted, confined container to another. So understanding someone's cultural background in your intake process, again, can help you get in a mutual context with them, see how they feel about it, see what they think about it, and if they're the right fit for your container. We're going to do more specifically around intake processes But it's one of the biggest areas that people are in deficit is their intake process to make sure that you understand who's coming into the container. And again, you can do a lot of the heavy lifting of the experience ahead of time and understanding your sets and setting. The other setting is legal and ethical considerations. The legal and ethical frameworks of where you live, the jurisdiction, the regulations, the guidelines, the ethical principles all shape the setting and approach to the experience. What I mean is, I am hearing a lot of information, a lot of misinformation across the channels in transformational and psychedelic spaces where people say, oh no, this is legal because it's a religion. No, my friend, it is not legal. It is defensible in court if you end up in court. Most of the religious groups who put a church in place so that they could work with the sacraments as a part of their religious indoctrination or their religious processes aren't following the other necessary legal guidelines that qualify you as a church. You do have to actually have certain rules and laws and practices of your church. And if you don't have evidence of that, if you're not creating a legal fund, you are putting not only yourself at risk, but the people involved with you. And the more that you perpetuate and share information that tells people, yes, this is legal, you are putting them at harm, especially if they're more melanated. If they're living in Black communities where with police, there is a lot of arrests for the same things that a white-bodied person like me might do. If I get arrested and say I'm practicing religion, I'll probably go to court and I will be fine. A more melanated person may not be the case, and I think that we are doing a massive disservice to Black and brown bodies in our community to tell someone it is legal when it is not. We have freedom of religious rights that are defensible in court. And if you, my friend, do not have a amount or a legal fund set up, then you're putting other people at risk. Anyway, that's my rant for now. We're going to keep it moving. Integration practices as a part of setting. Understanding the cultural norms and practices for integrating the experience into everyday life. What is the setting of their integration when they leave? What are some rituals, ceremonies, community support, and therapeutic follow-up that can contribute to the long-term healing and growth? These are the considerations that most people don't even scratch the surface of. They don't even consider. I'm just asking you to consider it. I don't care. Actually, that's not true. I care tremendously. I'm on a rant today, so I'm just going to come rant for a second. I care tremendously. You can do what you want, and I will love you regardless of that. But I will tell you there are things I do not approve. Don't approve, don't love it, don't support it, doesn't mean I don't love you. I just want to ensure that you have the information, and as you go seek spaces, that you are armed to understand what is legal, what is defensible in court. How do you approach it and keep people safe? Because you can make all the claims in the world that you're about safety or reciprocity or inclusivity or diversity or whatever. The only thing that will actually prove it is the spaces you create. If you tell me I care about everybody's safety and everyone is altered and you're not even able to hold the containers and you have people bugging out or you have people getting hurt, my friend, you are bullshitting yourself. And which is fine. I do it too. We all have our places and spaces for reflection. My invitation is if you don't want to learn the hard way, come lean into some experience. And I've had times in the past where people didn't approve of what I did, and I make attempts to meet in person and have the conversations and hear when people didn't approve of what I did, where they felt like something was unethical or unsafe or inappropriate or whatever. We have to be in dialogue, and most people are afraid of the dialogue because the truth is, once you know, you can't unknow. When you speak this language and you tell people that you care and your actions don't align, it hurts still. When you care as much as I know that you care, but you are not reflecting that in your containers, it hurts the heart a bit. I get that. But that's not an excuse to not lean in. That's not an excuse to wait until there's enough harm for you to do something. Please stop waiting for the motivation of desperation because you didn't know what you were doing. The common mistakes, 5 common mistakes of why people's containers end up having massive problems or a bad trip or even legal recourse. because I have helped to mitigate from facilitators getting taken to court and the police called on them. I've been on both sides of it. I've been there to support. And if you will follow these 5 considerations or come to the Condor Approach, let us at least open your mind of what else to consider so that you don't become the example in your community of what not to do. If people come to you looking for a hero, they're going to come for you looking for a villain too and be the first to string you up in town square to say, look, I caught this bad person. So again, you can learn the hard way. I'm just telling you that way sucks, but feel free, do what you want. 5 common mistakes: neglecting physical safety measures, ignoring emotional support needs of the people attending, disregarding cultural sensitivity, lack of preparation and integration, overlooking set and setting dynamics. When someone neglects the physical safety, they are failing to ensure the physical safe environment, like including inadequate supervision, lack of emergency medical resources, or overlooking potential hazards in the setting. If you're in a place with a lot of stairs and they're not well lit, if you're in a place where there's overhangs and people could hit their head, my general rule of thumb, if you wouldn't have a 3-year-old there, don't have an altered person there, because they're crawling, they're moving, they're dancing. Sometimes they think they're a snake. They're crawling on the floor. They're sticking their fingers in things. Just saying, approach it, this physical safety measure, because you care. All right. The impact is an increased risk of accidents, injuries, medical emergencies, and this can lead to more trauma or more harm to the participants. When someone ignores emotional support needs, when they overlook it, and they're insufficiently trained, they don't understand empathy, they fail to address emotional distress before, during, and after, you become the villain. The impact is it heightens the risk of people feeling overwhelmed, anxious, unsupported during it. And as a participant, if I see that people are not being cared for, I don't trust the facilitator anymore. So when someone in these experiences can lead to negative outcomes or psychological harm. When there is a disregard of cultural sensitivity. So this could be neglecting the person's cultural backgrounds, beliefs, their values, and that insensitivity or misinterpretation of the experiences is what can make them feel like they had a bad trip. If a woman has been a victim of sexual assault, knowing that ahead of time and asking how she would feel in the space if she's feeling altered, she may not want to be very close to a male-bodied person if she was harmed by a male-bodied person. If someone is Muslim and let's say that she's wearing her full dress, burqa, isn't used to even being in the same room for more intimate work like this with male-bodied people in the room, then I may find another place for her to sit that's a little further from the group, because just being there is already really far outside of the cultural conditioning she's coming from. Too much too fast creates trauma too, and that includes too much transformation at one time. So this impact can make people feel alienated, misunderstood, disrespected, and undermine trust in the facilitator. And that's going to inhibit their integration process, just because they're the diverse cultural context you don't understand, so you don't know how to speak to it. And then there's the lack of preparation and integration. So they basically fail to do an intake process. They don't have, they're not very educated on the effects of the experience. They don't understand how to do an intake process to put, everyone doesn't have to be the same in the container. They have to be able to all be in the same container and tolerate other people in the room that may be like them or may not be like them. This is why more advanced journeyers don't really like to be with new journeyers, because new journeyers don't have the self-awareness of their energy, it's just a totally different experience. It doesn't make one right or wrong. It's that who you put in the room matters. When you come to the Condor Approach, you see we don't have everyone the same as far as cultural backgrounds or education or anything. What you do see similar is they've done a lot of work on themselves and they're ready for that next evolution where they can learn how to tolerate in their physical body being around people not like them. So the impact of this lack of intake and integration is people are feeling unprepared, confused, overwhelmed, and that's going to hinder their ability to integrate afterwards. So whether it's an easy integration or challenging, If there wasn't a lot in the intake of helping them understand what to anticipate, what support's going to look like, and then what to do if they're having a challenging time, that confusion can lead to overwhelm. That overwhelm means they're either going to journey hop to somewhere else or feel left lost and confused. So, just to recap from today, set refers to the mindset, emotional set, the personal expectations of the person that they're bringing in. And then the setting is the physical environment, their social context, cultural factors, set and setting. And that's just a recap. And I want you to really remember, as I've been just like word vomiting all over you for the last 30 minutes, that you may not have control over every aspect of the transformational or transformative journey, but through intentional and continuous education, you can illuminate the potential pitfalls and acquire the skills of container creation. What makes our containers so unique is the intention and follow through. It's the intention and actions. It's the continuing to show up and improve and allow people to tell us the truth of what they like, what they don't like, what works. We have a anonymous feedback because I want to know how we can improve and how we can elevate, how we can be more inclusive, how we can do things from people that we are not the same. I don't know, and I don't pretend to. So don't wait, fam, for something to go wrong. The journey of learning is continuous. And if you're dedicated to this path, I want you to come join us at the Condor Approach. The next Condor Approach is June 13th to the 15th. But here's what's so amazing. You don't have to wait until June. And in fact, I don't want you to wait until June. We have a portal of videos that not only does it cover what I talked about today, it goes into so much more that you can start applying to your containers or to understanding and educating yourself about from intake to integration, finding safe spaces for you. So I want you, before you come to the next Condor, to start going into those videos, and we're starting to require them as prerequisites so that by the time you come work with us, we can go deep. I don't want you to come to the Condor Approach to learn the concepts. I want you to come so that you can experience the concepts and understand them more fully, completely in real time. So you get access to that right away. If you register today, then that's going to not only give you a month's worth of weekly calls after the event, because we want to make sure you're integrating, but you're going to get master classes. You're going to get all of these videos. You're going to get access to the Condor community starting right now. Again, you don't have to do it this way. You can learn it the hard way if you choose. But I'll tell you, if you keep spending $250, $500, $1,000 on transformational experiences, and you have not learned the skill of intake on yourself, including sets and settings, and the integration process, you're wasting a good chunk of your money and your time. Because when you learn how to do it effectively, one ceremony will ripple for months and even years. Versus you go have a big breakthrough, 2 weeks go by, you feel great, or you fully contract. One or the other. If you fully contract, people don't know what to do next. We teach you that. People have an expansion. They feel amazing. How do I keep this moving forward so that when my willpower fades, my trajectory doesn't? That's what we teach you. Not only that, it's not just us. People come in this container, their businesses grow, their referral structures grow. They find coaches and shaman and facilitators they can trust because they've gone through in-depth training like this. And look, I will tell you, I'm just now sorting through all the testimonials of the past year of retreats. And the most common denominator was people said the community alone changed my life. Yeah, we're going to teach you the concepts. Yes, we're going to teach you other ways to be effective as a supporter, but it's going to change your family. It's going to change your environment. It's going to change your life. It's going to help you get that raise because you become a more effective communicator. Set and setting isn't only in these retreats. It's at your job. It's at your desk. It's at your home and with your kids. And the more that you understand what you can control, you're going to get freedom from what you can't. I love you all so much. Thank you for your time, your attention, your energy. And I want to know right now below, what's your biggest takeaway from today? I want to hear from you. I want to hear what is resonating for you. What maybe didn't really make so much sense. What worked? What didn't work? What really, yeah, what was your takeaway from this today? Something to consider. This is for you to have the more open dialogue, the more impactful conversations with the people that you love. As a therapist, things that they don't teach you. The amount of therapists that I have testimonials from, which I'm going to be sharing a lot more of, that said, I learned more here in a day than I did in all of my schooling, in all of my training, in all of my work experience, because these templates make it easy to explain. These templates that we've created help you take what you already know and influence your environment so that they can elevate their life and their experience. So some of the takeaways I'm seeing from today is Paul Mark says Kole cares. Y'all, I care. I care a lot, and I don't give a bleep because I care so much that it's simply not possible for me to give all the F's. I filed efropsy is what I call it, right? I fully believe you can fill in that blank yourself. I'm working on not swearing less. I am working on swearing a little bit less and choosing other words that are more inclusive for people that don't only swear. So this is me being inclusive. I'm including people that don't drop F-bombs at every other word, which is totally fine. One of the big takeaways, mutual context and communication is so important. Context is key. Truth is relative to context. And when you can start to consider other people's context, it changes everything. Y'all, thank you again. My name is Kole Whitty. I'm coming back next Monday to really dive into a masterclass on retreats. Now, this is what I'm going to encourage you is to join me in the Zoom room because I'm not going to be commenting in Facebook, but you're going to be able to see it. I want you live in the Zoom room with me next week. You can hit the link below here to join. I am going to show you how to do a one-day retreat. This is going to be a 90-minute class with 30 minutes of Q&A afterwards. So I'm going to run you through these templates, show you exactly what to do. And then after that, I'm going to sit with the Q&A. I'm so ready for you to make a change exactly where you are. And I want to show you that you can financially offset the investment of the Condor Approach by doing a one-day retreat. Or don't come to the Condor Approach and see that you can make a massive impact with one day. And it's the best return on investment of time than any international retreat you'll ever do because of how little it requires of you. And this, I call it like a micro retreat for massive impact. So love y'all. Until next time, be easy, be free. I love you. And I hope that this brought a little bit more consideration for sets and settings, and that I'll see you in Austin, Texas, June 13th through the 15th, 2024. Peace.
The Condor Approach is a methodology. This is not a law space, not a religion, not a cult. This is not a space of indoctrination. It is a methodology. And we use the methodology of the Condor Approach to integrate things in our lives. It's a tool belt. You have all of these tools that you use on a day-to-day basis, and we move through a psychedelic informed lens because it works. And there are a lot of people that are leaning into utilizing psychedelics and they're not integrating with intention. Integration is something that's not optional, but it's something that's ongoing all the time. And if we don't do it with intention, we get what we get. So the question is, can you coach yourself and can you be coached by somebody else? From our vantage point at the Condor Approach, coaching is eliciting greatness from another person. It is supporting another person, bringing out the greatness in them. And so if you can coach somebody else, can you coach yourself? Bring the greatness out of you. Be coachable and have fun. If you fall out of having fun, things can get really, really challenging. So bring yourself back to fun at every instance that you possibly can.